Hello and welcome to a special edition of your America's Cup news show, Beyond the Cup. We have the rare privilege of being joined today by Terry Hutchinson, the American Magic skipper, and also our resident sailing expert, as always, AUT sailing professor Mark Horams. We'll review the news of the last week with the guys shortly and take a look at this weekend's resumption of sailing. But first, let's recap where we are with the Prada Cup Final. So far, we've had 2 days of racing and it's 4 from 4 for Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli in the first to 7 best of 13 race series. Ineos Team UK, so far, yet to register a victory. Due to the wee matter of a short COVID lockdown, there's now a revised if not controversial race schedule, with racing set to resume on Saturday with 2 races, continuing daily until one team reaches the all-important series clinching 7 wins. And you can listen to all of the live radio commentary on Gold AM and iHeartRadio with the voice of America's Cup, PJ Montgomery. Expert comments from Chris Steele. Well, the last 7 days have brought a real stoush between the Challenger of Record and America's Cup events. Terry, the two sides have been poles apart. Obviously, America's Cup events wanted a delay to next week for racing to be under COVID level 1, and the Challenger of Record wanted to continue racing immediately. Where do you sit on this?
It's pretty simple. The conditions have racing through the 24th, and so the schedule was set. And I think when we all signed up, we knew what the schedule, when the schedule was going to be announced and when it was going to be set. And so, in my mind, it's really a non-issue. You don't have to look any further than Melbourne to see sporting events taking place without the fans. And it's certainly not what any of us wanted. I mean, it's great to have the interaction and the participation and the support of sailing fans, but at the end of the day, the schedule is the schedule, and there's no reason to change it. American
Magic had still been in the regatta and 4-0 down. Light winds forecast. Do you think you guys would have sided with the defender on this?
I think the schedule is a schedule, and there's certain things that we all know, and that's one of them. And so, we're not in that position. But as a competitor, when we go to regattas outside of the America's Cup, you have a start date, you have a stop date, and you just know that's when it is. And so if you're happen to be in the spot on the last day of racing where you're winning and the racing gets called off, well, good on you. And if you're not, then you're probably not going to win the regatta.
Marco, you're never short of an opinion. Where do you stand on this?
Well, actually, in this instance, I'd be very interested in Terry's views on it, because I'm assuming that the challengers got together and had an understanding of what they might agree upon should this eventuate. I mean, COVID is something that's always going to be a risk. We know that, and there would have been some likelihood of a community outbreak in New Zealand over this particular period of time. So Terry, what was the contingency that was agreed upon should this scenario arise?
The contingency was whoever was winning at the end of the time period of the Prada Cup Finals was who was going to win the regatta. I mean, there's only so much you can plan for and only so much that you can anticipate. And so, I think when you look at the schedule of the match as well, there's a wide enough period of time there that, you were going to have a team, unless the series was tied, you were going to have a team that was going to be ahead. And that's, we're dealing with a very unique situation here and a very unique circumstance. And so there was enough racing and enough time built into the schedule that in some capacity one team was either going to be ahead or you're going to be tied, and then you're going to result back to the tiebreaker. There's a question of, well, is that fair? Well, we're in sport, so there is nothing fair. It's sport, and that's the harsh reality of it.
Well, the position of ACE on the surface was to help the external stakeholders, but there have been suggestions of deals being reached with Ineos to be the next Challenger of Record if Team New Zealand retained the Cup, and the delay would only help Ineos. Marco, do you agree with that?
Well, it's the conspiracy theory, isn't it? But there's no doubt that Ineos wants a delay, especially given the forecast for light winds this weekend. The longer they've got to try and improve their speed deficit, especially in the light winds, is an advantage to them. Whereas, of course, from a Luna Rossa perspective, 4-0 up on a roll, they just want to get on with it and get it done.
And Terry, do you see any way back for the Brits, given the forecast for very light winds on both Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge for the lighter air, we saw it in the round robins with both of our races against both those teams, where in particular our race against Luna Rossa, we fell in the water off the start. they beat us around the top mark by a fair amount, and halfway down the first run, we were a couple hundred meters ahead of them. And so, you know, the light wind thing for both teams is a bit of a worry because it's pretty easy to fall off the foils, and once you're in the water, you know, the guy that's on the foil is in a pretty strong spot. So I'm a little bit more, you know, I don't bite as hard on the fact if it's light or if it's heavy. You know, I think, you know, both those teams are sailing really well. I mean, obviously, you know, Ben's been quite, he's been quite public about they'd rather race in the breeze than in the lighter air. So I'd follow his lead on what he thinks about his boat.
Well, the starts have been woeful for Ben Ainslie and co, but we have seen in earlier races when they get ahead, they are hard to pass. Marco, do they need to be more aggressive in the pre-start?
Well, what we've learned from the last 8 straight races is that the boat that wins the pre-start and the first cross leads and wins the race. So there's a pattern that's forming there, and I think what's happening is these AC 75s are so fast that the boundaries really constrain the courses, and that advantages the boat that's leading and means that the boat that's following has very few options to try and manufacture a pass, especially if the lead boat doesn't make mistakes, and especially if the lead boat's got a slight speed edge.
Well, unfortunately, under COVID Level 2 protocol, there will be limitations to crowd gatherings on shore to watch this weekend's racing. However, Regatta Director Ian Murray is expecting a large flotilla of spectators out on the Hauraki Gulf. During the first weekend of Prada Cup Final, NZME's Cherie Kinnear got a taste of the on-water experience as a guest on board one of the many charter boats.
Well, easily one of the best places to watch the racing is actually out on the water, and we've been lucky enough to be invited by Luxury Lass aboard the Golden Eagle today to watch the Prada Cup Finals. Well, I've stolen Captain Ben here right from upstairs to come down and have a bit of a chat. So you are captaining the Golden Eagle today. How long have you been involved in this sort of work?
I've been skippering for 7 or 8 years around the Gulf. Grew up on water. Been doing it ever since, I guess. So yeah.
Is this the dream to be able to skip?
This is more of a luxury side, yeah, a bit more relaxed to be honest. So something I can get used to very quickly, I think. But, yeah.
From your expert knowledge, could you tell me a little bit about the boat?
Well, obviously it's a Formula 69 or 70 foot. I guess specific to the boat, it's run by Detroit. It's a motor yacht really, around about total 500 kilowatts kind of thing.
Would it at all be able to keep up with an America's Cup boat?
No. Short question, no.
We're up here at the fly bridge on the Golden Eagle. Perfect view up here, isn't it?
Oh, it's just lovely. I mean, there's boats of every size and type out here. Amazing. It's great for business, and it's just neat to see everyone out here enjoying the day, and it's another way to enjoy it.
Pretty exciting. We got a chance actually to see them come past before Team New Zealand.
Wow, they were so close, and I mean, sailing past these boats really give you a bit of joy for the spectators that come out and watch here. And so, yeah, the Team New Zealand's out here as well, sailing up and down, and everyone's enjoying it. It's lovely.
So we've made our way here into the galley of the boat. Can you guys talk me through a little bit about what your roles are and like what your involvement is on the boat on like a day-to-day sort of charter like this?
So we're just like making sure everyone's drinks are topped up, everyone's having a great time, we're delivering some food around. Yeah, it's awesome. Just a really cool buzz, especially on the viaduct, and being out on a boat like this is so much fun.
So you guys have just rocked up on board.
Yeah, we had a bit of a sinking dinghy, which was but we've come aboard, we've pumped it up, and we're on now. Yeah.
Was that the goal, like boating around, being like, oh, hopefully we can get invited onto a boat?
The goal was to find a yacht with a band, and we've found that, so we're very happy.
Jasper, is this the first time you've done something like this in terms of performing on a yacht out on the water?
Definitely, yeah. It's definitely the first time out on a yacht. We've played a lot of other, functions, weddings, different corporate events. But in terms of actually being out on the water, this is definitely a first time and pretty cool as well. And especially look at this. I mean, look at the day. You can't complain, eh? Yeah.
And to be right up amongst the America's Cup racing as well in the Prada Cup Finals, it must be definitely something you'll remember for a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we used to grow up watching it on the TV back home, so it's pretty incredible to be out here and amongst the action, I guess, yeah. And doing what we love, playing music.
Still plenty of races to go as well. I guess based on the fact that Ineos Team UK, they were sort of dominating the roster in the round robins. Did you expect them to come out on top today?
Well, yeah, I thought there was going to be an advantage there, for sure, yeah. I mean, so that's why pretty much I wanted the Italians to sort of fight back, you know, and they've obviously done something well, so yeah, hopefully not too well.
Well, there we have it, a beautiful day out on the water, enjoying the Prada Cup Finals. Big thank you again to Luxury Lass for hosting us on board the Golden Eagle.
Well, how lucky was Cherie? Where was my invite? That certainly looks like a lot of fun. And Terry, Aucklanders have really come out in force on the water, haven't they? I mean, hundreds and hundreds of boats. I mean, what do you make of all that?
It's pretty, it's very impressive. You know, I don't think Aucklanders have disappointed, and really New Zealand as a whole, they haven't disappointed at all with their support of the America's Cup and the sport of sailing. So in that light, it's probably one of the few places in the world that we would have had the type of support that we have here. I mean, it truly is spectacular.
Terry, we've seen Team New Zealand trialling a version or a refinement of what you and American Magic put on Patriot and what was dubbed the Batwing mainsail. I'd just be really interested in what you guys saw as the advantage of that configuration, and are you surprised or perhaps seeing it as a compliment that Team New Zealand's put up a replicate of what you guys developed?
Definitely not surprised. You know, they're smart sailors and they're smart designers there, and so I think what Geordie and Richard had created with the Batwing was a really great evolution. You know, what we had learned in particular when it was really windy was getting rid of, once the boat's up and flying, getting rid of the aerodynamic drag of the sail plan was a pretty good improvement in the speed. You know, the interesting time that we were developing it was in August, September, when the air density is a lot cooler than it is now, and that played quite a big variation in the crossover of the sail. And you know, Team New Zealand took it to the next level where they asked a couple clever questions from the rules committee and got some interpretations that allowed for the geometry of their sail. And so, yes, it's a compliment to have them develop something that we had started, and you know, I would suspect if you see that in range, it's going to be quite a improvement to their performance.
Terry, you're still here, which is great. And how many of the American Magic team have stayed on, I guess, until perhaps the end of the Cup match?
Yeah, we have roughly 65% of our team is still here. You know, we had our accommodation booked out through the end of March, and so there was no going back on that. So, you know, some of the team has helped packing up. You know, we're trying to properly debrief as best we can, even though it's still exceptionally raw, everything that's happened. And, you know, but in a lot of these circumstances, really, you know, a lot of the learning comes out of talking to team members and really gain a higher level of understanding to what we did well and what we did poorly. We've been incredibly fortunate to have both Commodore Culver and Commodore Lotz from the New York Yacht Club, and then Doug DeVos and Hap Fouth, two of our three principals, have been here. And so they've gotten to see everything, experience it, and really give a different perspective. You know, we're here all the time, and you get so immersed in the weeds. But you know, these gentlemen have invested heavily, not only in the financial support of our team, but in a lot of ways in the emotional support of our team as well. And so, you know, their involvement and their interaction with team members, you know, it brings a different level and a different meaning to really the work that we all go through. You know, I think it's, you know, from an American Magic perspective, it's an exciting time because I think there is a true opportunity for us to continue our program given the right parameters of AC37. And you know, as Doug rightfully pointed out, we've gone from competitor to customer. And so, you know, at a certain point, we have a couple other customers in the viaduct that, you know, are excited by the AC75 because it's turned out to be a great boat. The racing's incredible. And, you know, there's a real opportunity to grow the America's Cup and grow the sport of sailing with this boat and this platform. But, you know, at a certain point, too, we need to probably break the curse of the America's Cup in the format where you have a challenger, a record, and defender setting the rules and following those rules. I mean, you started the show with a disagreement between the two, when really it's very clear what the rules say. There is no disagreement. There is no controversy. There's a schedule, and we're just going to follow it.
Listening to you, it does sound like American Magic are very keen to be involved next time, even though the New York Yacht Club has said we don't want falling boats, pretty much.
I can't speak for the club, but I've sat in enough conversations and listened to both Chris and Phil, who are great sailors in their own right and smart guys, and I think we all see that this boat has produced racing and a level of development that probably surprised us all. So I wouldn't say no. I can't speak for them, and at the same time, I think everybody's eyes wide open to it.
Yeah, Terry, I've got another question for you. This AC75 class, a brand new class for this America's Cup, and because of COVID, you really didn't have the opportunity to sail against an opponent before coming to Auckland. And you go into the business end of the regatta probably only having a dozen or so pre-starts under your belt. As time went on, what was your strategy in thinking around positioning in the pre-start? And am I correct in seeing that the right seems to be the favoured side to come off the start line?
Yeah, well, there's a lot in there, but the first point that you touched on a little bit ago was the team that wins the first cross gets control of the race. They have a pretty good winning percentage, which is something that when you look at previous America's Cups is something that you would always focus on a lot, is winning that first exchange. When I reflect back to our own racing against really Luna Rossa in the semis, on the first day it was windy and we were out of whack and we didn't start well. On the second day, Luna Rossa started very well. Their timing was really, really good. And the second start in particular, they were a bit early for the pin, but were able to wipe off the time, and we were late for the split tack start, and so really it wasn't much of a contest in that. But when you replay all those races, I would go back and bring it back to the positioning and understanding, repeating those situations in the simulator, so that you could really work on the timing of the boat and the boat's positioning. Interestingly, I think it was the second race where Ben popped the wheelie, Luna Rossa was going to have a lot on to kill the time that they were going to kill from leading in that spot. Ben was a bit unfortunate in that he did pop his wheelie, but even in that situation, Luna Rossa was still killing time for the pin, and that interaction took probably 12 seconds, I think, off of their time to kill, when Ben was just in the water. And so there is a lot of technique to that. It's not easy, and regardless of how much you do it in the simulator, the only thing that is real is when you're doing it on the water, and you have the effect of the shifts and you have the effect of the other boat, and you can certainly see how it's difficult to execute.
Thanks, guys. Let's just recap now where we are at. Luna Rossa have 4 points, so they need 3 more wins to clinch a place in the America's Cup match against Emirates Team New Zealand. Remembering 7 wins gets the job done. Ineos Team UK, well, they are winless. They better start winning this weekend. 2 races on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and we'll continue until one team registers 7 points. Don't forget, you can listen to all of the live radio commentary on Gold AM and iHeartRadio with the voice of America's Cup sailing, PJ Montgomery. Expert comments from Chris Steele. Well, we're about out of time, but I've got to get the predictions, guys. Marco Orams, are we going to see an Oracle-type comeback from Ineos Team UK a la San Francisco 2013?
One word, no. But easy as an armchair admiral to sit here and kind of cast predictions and look forward. But you'd have to say, looking at the form book so far, that's not going to happen. We may see Ineos win a few more races, but from my perspective, I think it's really hard mountain for them to climb from here.
Terry Hutchinson, suffice to say, your team has been incredible as a communicating team for everything you guys have done during your time here, and we really appreciate that coverage that you've been able to enable us to provide. But I don't want you sitting on the fence here. I know you're the diplomat, but who's going to win and why?
Who's going to win and why? I think statistically, you'd be hard pressed to say Luna Rossa is not going to close out the series. I mean, just looking at it, if they go 1 for 1 over the next 3 days, Luna Rossa wins. So I'm more of a, I look at it in that light that Ben's going to have to sail really, really well, and things will. It's actually not even so much if Ben's going to have to sail really, really well, as much as Luna Rossa is just going to have to start making mistakes. And it's been impressive to see their evolution, their how they've developed their boat with the 2 helm stations and the flying of the boat. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a big ask for Ineos to get back in it.
Well, Terry Hutchinson, thanks so much for your time from American Magic. Marco Orum's AUT sailing professor as well. Marco will be back with his America's Cup preview show, his live blog and post-race news show. All the action over the weekend. Saturday, 2 races, Sunday, 2 races, and who knows, maybe into Monday. This has been the latest edition of our America's Cup news show, Beyond the Cup.